The Mystery of Point Nemo. Part 1. The loneliest point on Earth. Opening scene, ambient music, vast ocean footage, satellite view of Earth slowly zooming in on the Pacific. Far away from every shore, beyond the reach of ships, planes, and people, there lies a place so isolated, so distant from civilization, that even astronauts aboard the International Space Station are closer to humanity than anyone on Earth's surface. This is Point Nemo, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility, and perhaps the most mysterious point on our planet. Title appears on screen. The Mystery of Point Nemo, the ocean's loneliest place. The meaning of isolation. Imagine standing in the middle of the world's largest ocean. There are no ships, no birds, no land in sight, just endless blue stretching thousands of kilometers in every direction. Here, at 48 degrees 52.6 S, 123 degrees 23.6 W, lies Point Nemo. It's the spot on Earth's ocean surface farthest from any land, located deep in the South Pacific, a region so vast and empty it's often called the ocean desert. The word Nemo comes from Latin, meaning no one. A fitting name, because this is truly a place for no one. Discovery through mathematics. Unlike most geographical discoveries, Point Nemo wasn't found by explorers on a ship or by daring adventurers sailing across unknown seas. It was found by a computer, and a man with an idea. In 1992, Croatian-Canadian engineer Hrvoje Lukatela used advanced geospatial software to calculate the most remote spot from any coastline on Earth. With mathematical precision, he plotted every landmass and measured the distances between them. After running his calculations, one coordinate stood out, a point in the South Pacific that was 2,688 kilometers, 1,670 miles away from the nearest piece of land in all directions. That point became known as Point Nemo. The nearest lands. To understand just how remote it is, consider its three nearest neighbors, all uninhabited islands barely large enough for a person to stand on. 1. Ducie Island, part of the Pitcairn Islands, to the north. 2. Motu Nui, near Easter Island, to the northeast. 3. Mawena Point, off the coast of Antarctica, to the south. None of them have permanent populations. No cities. No lights. No radio towers. Just empty land, and thousands of kilometers of silent sea. The ocean desert. Underwater visuals fade in, empty blue water, few fish drifting by. Narrator. Scientists describe this region as part of the South Pacific Gyre, a vast circular current system where water moves slowly and nutrients are scarce. Because there's so little food, marine life is minimal. The sea here is eerily calm, lifeless, almost sterile. There are no coral reefs, no schools of fish, no bustling ecosystems like those found near coasts. In many ways, it's one of the most barren places in all the oceans. The astronaut comparison. If a ship were drifting at Point Nemo, its crew would be the most isolated humans on the planet. In fact, the nearest people are often not even on Earth. The International Space Station, orbiting 400 kilometers above the planet, frequently passes closer to Point Nemo than any human being at sea level. Astronauts in space, closer than anyone else on Earth. A chilling reminder of how remote and forgotten this point truly is. The Spacecraft Cemetery. Visual. Animation of old satellites re-entering Earth's atmosphere and falling into the ocean. Narrator. But Point Nemo's story doesn't end with isolation. It has a secret, one that ties it to the stars above. This lonely place has become Earth's spacecraft graveyard, the final resting place for machines that once soared through space. When satellites, space stations, and cargo ships reach the end of their life, engineers must bring them back to Earth safely. They choose Point Nemo, the spot least likely to harm anyone. Since the 1970s, more than 260 spacecraft have been deliberately crashed here. The Russian Mir space station, weighing over 120 tons, ended its journey in these waters in 2001. European ATV cargo vessels, Progress modules, and Japanese supply ships have all followed. Beneath these waves lie twisted fragments of metal, the ghosts of humanity's space age. The Sea of Secrets. What lies beneath Point Nemo is not entirely known. The seafloor here plunges over 4,000 meters deep. Exploration is nearly impossible, currents are weak, and it's far from research stations. For centuries, sailors avoided this part of the Pacific. There were no trade routes, no islands to stop at, no reason to travel here. Some call it the ocean's void. Others believe it hides ancient secrets, even worlds beyond our imagination. Myths and the unknown. In 1997, a strange sound was detected by NOAA hydrophones, a deep, resonant noise that echoed across thousands of kilometers. Scientists called it the Bloop. It came from near Point Nemo. For years, speculation grew. Was it a giant creature, unknown to science? Was it a natural phenomenon, or something else? Eventually, the mystery was solved. The sound came from ice cracking off Antarctica. But for a time, Point Nemo became the center of wild theories and cosmic horror tales. Fans of H.P. Lovecraft even noted that in his 1928 story, The Call of Cthulhu, the coordinates of the ancient city of Hrvoje, where the monstrous being Cthulhu sleeps, were eerily close to Point Nemo. Coincidence? Perhaps. But it only deepened the mystique of this silent, forsaken place. The symbol of isolation. Closing scene of Part 1. Drone shot rising above the endless ocean horizon. Point Nemo is more than just a location. It's a symbol of how vast our planet truly is. Even in the 21st century, with satellites mapping every inch of Earth, there remain places beyond our touch, beyond our presence, beyond our noise. In a world where connection defines us, Point Nemo reminds us that solitude still exists. Somewhere out there, in the endless blue, lies a point where no one has ever stood, and perhaps, no one ever will. Music fades, screen transitions to black. The Mystery of Point Nemo. Part 2, The Man Who Found Nowhere. Opening scene, old computer screen flickering, 1990s digital maps loading slowly. Faint typing sounds fill the room. Narrator, steady, thoughtful tone. In the early 1990s, as the world entered the dawn of the digital age, one man sat in front of a computer, not looking for riches, not for fame, but for something that didn't seem to exist. A place so far from civilization, so untouched by humanity, that no explorer had ever set eyes upon it. He wasn't an adventurer with a ship. He was a mathematician, and his name was Hrvoje Lukatela. Scene 1, The Dream of Inaccessibility. Visual. A map of Earth spinning, zooming in on oceans. Vintage globe spinning slowly on a desk. Born in Croatia, Hrvoje Lukatela was fascinated by geography and the mathematical precision behind maps. He believed that geography was not just about land, but about the spaces between lands. By the 1990s, Lukatela was living in Canada, working with computer models and geospatial data. He loved exploring questions that traditional explorers could never answer. And one day, he asked himself a question that would change his life. Greater than, what is the most remote point in the ocean, the farthest possible location from any piece of land on Earth? It was a question so simple, yet no one had ever answered it with certainty. The tools of discovery. Visual. Early 90s computer graphics, digital grids overlaying an image of the Pacific Ocean. Using an early digital mapping program, Lukatela began to calculate distances between every known landmass on Earth. He plotted thousands of points, coastlines, islands, and reefs, feeding them into a computer model that could determine which ocean coordinate was farthest from all shores. This wasn't an easy task. Computers then were slow, and global data was incomplete. But Lukatela's algorithm, built with persistence and curiosity, kept running. After months of processing, one coordinate emerged, deep in the South Pacific Ocean. 48 degrees 52.6 feet south, 123 degrees 23.6 feet west. A point that was 2,688 kilometers away from any land in every direction. Lukatela had found it, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. Naming, Point Nemo. Visual. Text typing across the screen, Point Nemo. Background music becomes mysterious yet peaceful. Every great discovery deserves a name. Lukatela looked to literature for inspiration, and found it in the works of Jules Verne, the legendary French novelist whose imagination had sailed deeper than any ship. In Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the mysterious Captain Nemo commanded the submarine Nautilus, journeying through the hidden depths of the ocean, far away from mankind. Lukatela thought the name was perfect. He called his discovery Point Nemo, the point of no one. The world reacts. Visual. 1990s newspapers and science magazines flipping across the screen. When Lukatela published his finding in 1992, the scientific world was fascinated. For the first time in history, humanity had found the most remote place on Earth. News outlets called it the loneliest spot in the ocean. Geographers and oceanographers confirmed his coordinates using satellite data. And just like that, Point Nemo entered the global imagination. Sailors were intrigued. Writers were inspired. Scientists were curious. But few would ever go there. Why nobody visits? Reaching Point Nemo is not just difficult, it's almost pointless. There's no land to stand on, no nearby islands, no harbor. It lies in one of the least traveled regions of the Pacific, thousands of kilometers from any shipping lane or trade route. Even modern research vessels rarely pass through it. The closest that most ships come to it is when they dump old space debris, more on that later. To visit Point Nemo would require weeks at sea, carrying enough fuel, food, and supplies just to see emptiness. It is perhaps the purest symbol of isolation on Earth. The mathematics of nowhere. Visual. Animated Earth globe with dotted circles radiating outward from Point Nemo. Mathematically, Point Nemo represents the concept of inaccessibility, the farthest point from the edges of a defined boundary. On land, similar poles of inaccessibility exist, like the one in Antarctica or the Eurasian steppes. But none are as pure, as unreachable, as the one hidden beneath the Pacific waves. Lukatela's discovery wasn't just a coordinate, it was a symbol. A reminder that even in an age of satellites and supercomputers, there are still corners of Earth untouched by human hands. The man behind the discovery. Hrvoje Lukatela never became a celebrity. He didn't seek fame or wealth from his finding. He continued his quiet work in geospatial studies, proud of what he'd discovered, not because it made him famous, but because it revealed something profound. That our planet is vast, and our presence is small. He had proven that mathematics and curiosity could take humanity further than any expedition. The legacy of the discovery. Visual. Satellite view of the Pacific Ocean, fading into darkness. Today, Point Nemo appears on maps, in documentaries, in novels, and even in video games. Sailors passing near its coordinates often record their location, marveling at how far they are from the rest of the world. But few realize that it all began in a small office, with one man and one computer, searching for the farthest place on Earth. Point Nemo isn't just a location. It's a mathematical miracle. A symbol of human curiosity and the endless reach of imagination.